All right, we are live.
Are we live?
Yes, we are live here from Huntersville.
Hey, Luke, how are you?
Good, Brad.
Let's wait if maybe a minute, get some people to jump on here, and then we'll let everyone know what's going on. Peacock just clicked on, so their live feed has started now. We had some people chime in through Twitter saying one of the people was going to be watching from a baseball field. We appreciate your dedication to watching our live streams.
All right. Well, why don't we kick things off?
I got 3 people. So my name is Brad Zimmerman. I work here at Pratt Miller. I'm fairly the new guy. I started the beginning of the year. This is go.
6 months in?
No, go. You're up.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Luke Sager, Pratt Miller. So we've been at Pratt Miller for 5 years, more on the engineering side than anything. A lot of work in NASCAR and other programs, but getting a lot more involved in our sports car program now.
Yep.
Yeah, and we've started this live stream. We started it at Le Mans. And we streamed for 24 hours straight at Le Mans, and we won that race, and it was super exciting.
Yep.
And got really good feedback from everyone who joined in for that. So have continued on. So we are now live streaming for all the IMSA, trying to stream for all the IMSA events. We're not sure if we're going to be able to do all of them. But yeah, so here we are streaming Lime Rock.
Hey, Charlie, how are you?
Yeah, Charlie's on. Hey, Charlie. So basically what we do here on this channel is we provide Corvette specific insights and commentary related to our race. We're fortunate enough because we are at Pratt Miller and a part of the team. We have a lot of access to a lot of awesome stuff. We have data streaming in from the track. We have communication with the guys in the pits. And as you actually see on the stream itself, we have time and scoring data that we have the ability to share with you guys, which is fantastic. So we'll be talking a lot about our race and how we're doing, talk to guys in the pits. And then also today, we have Doug Feehan is actually going to be on for a solid hour. So he's calling in at what time?
1:10.
Yeah, so at 1:10, Doug's going to call in, and he's going to stay on for a full hour, and just call, be there to call the race and talk about things with us. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about today. How about you?
Yeah, it's going to be good. Have you been to Lime Rock?
I have not.
Okay, so Lime Rock is kind of in the boonies, but it's in Connecticut, so it's still pretty nice. But it's a beautiful track. It's tucked in the middle of trees, just carved out of nothing. And doing a little bit of history on the track, it looks like the track was originally a quarry, which I'm sure that's how it got its name. So the track was built in 1957, opened in 57, and they aligned themselves with the holy trinity of American sports car racetracks with Road America and Laguna Seca. So Lime Rock was 57, and Laguna and Road America. Laguna Seca 57, Lime Rock's 57, Road America 1955. So they call those the Trinity sports car racetracks. This track is 1.5 miles. It can be configured in a 7, 8, or 9 turn configuration. However, the guys racing today, this is the same configuration it has been in since day one. However, it has been repaved in 2008. As Luke said, we're going to talk to Doug today. In the future, we'll get Ollie Gavin to come on here. He was not able to make it today,
that'll be fun.
But he did provide some pretty interesting insight through an email. But he said, given the lap times, which is barely 50 seconds, 52, 53 seconds, once all the cars are on the track, given the heat and the humidity, this is very mentally and physically taxing on the drivers. And with the quick lap times, the crews have to be ready to go at a moment's notice because everything is happening that much faster. Again, today's a 2 hour and 40-minute race. And this is a GT only.
Yeah.
So you have amateurs and pros in the GT class, both classes.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things we've been fighting all year is getting good
Yeah.
TV coverage, which hence is why you guys are here.
Yeah.
But this race and VIR are both races where it's just GT cars.
Yeah.
Which is great because they'll talk about our more on screen time for sure, more footage,
Yeah.
more discussion about our race, which is awesome.
Yeah, and Gavin was estimating or guesstimating that this is going to probably be a pretty rough race. A lot of beat up body panels coming through this because it is fairly narrow. Granted, there's not 60 cars on the track, but it's still going to be crowded no matter where you are.
Yeah, really tough place to pass for sure. Yeah, so getting into kind of the race and what we got going on. So we qualified third behind the Aston Martin was on pole. The Lexus is in second, and we qualified third. It's a really tough track to pass on. So certainly, we'll be looking for opportunities to pass in the pits, which we are famous for doing and really good at doing. So that'll be something we'll be keeping an eye on for sure. The other big thing is, we've been spending a lot of time looking at the points situation, now that we're well into the season. So there's five races left in the series, including today. And we are 109 points behind the Lexus. So basically every race is worth, or every position in a race is worth about 20 points. So if we start closing up, just finish ahead of the Lexus fairly consistently, race after race, we can pick up 20 points at a time.
Yep.
And make up,
chip away at it.
Pretty much chip away at it, and should be there by the end as long as we, consistently finish ahead of the Lexus or 2 positions ahead. So that's really important for us, and we certainly want to hunt that down. In terms of pace at this track, we've been pretty decent this weekend, but it does seem that still the Aston and the Lexus have speed on us. The Aston basically had pole position was about half a second faster than us, and they still are carrying, we'll call it an advantageous BOP. So after Mossport, there's only one slight BOP adjustment made, and that was actually to the Mercedes. So they added 10 kilograms to the Mercedes, but then also added 6 horsepower. So that's definitely in an attempt to slow them down in the corners, but speed them up on the straights, right? So they look at all kinds of metrics, corner speeds, top straightaway speeds, and things like that, and then adjust to try to make the cars as accurate as possible.
And do they give them horsepower through the throttle botting?
Yes,
increasing.
Yeah, restrictor size. Yep. So those are the only adjustment that was made. Didn't help us, so again, I think we're really at a performance disadvantage relative to the Lexus and the Aston, but we'll again do our best with trying to beat them in the pits and things like that.
So just a little bit of housekeeping here. So again, the setup that we have right now, we're watching a large TV. We are streaming Peacock. So more than likely, we and you folks on the stream are watching the same thing. I'm listening to it in my ear here. And then what you're seeing on the side of the screen is live data, and that will be first in terms of timing. So there is a few second delay. So what you see on the screen to Luke's right is live coming directly from the track. Yeah, I don't know which way it is. I'll be a terrible weatherman. So just know that if you see those 2 green boxes flash yellow, that'll be the yellow first live. There'll be a slight delay to television of what you can see. And then just so you know the timing of everything. So if you want to put the race on a big TV and then have us on a phone or an iPad or a laptop off to the side, and then you can adjust the volumes however you want to. That's kind of the normal setup for people that watch us.
Yep.
And we're just going to try and provide as much commentary and insight as possible. I would assume the restarts are going to be fairly spicy. So we'll kind of let the restarts play out. But once things die down a little bit, we have already talked with our guys on the pit box.
It looks like they're already lined up,
Yep.
ready to go.
So we'll be talking with some of our guys from Connecticut live throughout the day here.
Yeah.
And they're going green.
So they're going green right now on TV. I want to make sure all this is.
There's the classic guest flag waver with the stiff arm.
Yeah. So yeah. So we are green. Again, a lot of times, one of the easiest places to make up spots is on a restart. So you'll probably see some pretty aggressive driving, and you can behind us, but we look fairly okay up front at this moment.
Yeah, they're showing right here. It's Porsche on top of Porsche.
Yeah, so
that little kink turn is tough.
So that was the 9 FAF car. Basically holding his position in GTD Pro. So GTD Pro, all the 5 cars are in line and up front.
And this, for being a very short track, it packs a lot of punch. Not only is it pretty to look at, but they have straight, they have tight turns. There's 2 big elevation jumps. So there's a lot of stuff going on in a very short amount of track, which is pretty cool, which is why this thing is, to quote Gorilla Monsoon, a slobber knocker.
Slobber knocker. Who's Gorilla Monsoon?
He was an old WWE announcer, and then before that, he was an actual wrestler. He was one of the original big guys.
I don't know if that was some YouTube guy.
Yeah, I made a note to throw in more WWE references.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So right now, we're already, laps go so fast. We're already 2 laps in.
Yeah.
And in the same order as we started. Everyone's. Oh, we just got. Actually, we're just about to get past here.
Captain Richard, I salute you. Great announcer for sure.
So yeah, keep an eye on this, guys. We're going to lose a position to the FAF Porsche. If this is correct, this may not be correct. No, I think that's incorrect. This time and scoring showing some weird things here on my end. $319. That's really interesting. Oh, I know why. Because hold on, never mind. I was sorting by best lap time.
Oh.
Yeah, don't do that.
Come on, Luke.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Rookie move. So yeah, we're just all running as we were.
Yep.
And we're still in third, about 2 seconds back. Super quiet on the radio right now. So they're just definitely letting Antonio Garcia do his thing and focus on everything going on.
Yeah.
So talking about pit windows and things like that, this is going to be a 2-stop race, or you can do it on 2-stop, but if there's a need to make it 3, we can. Pit's basically open for that 2-stop strategy, actually super early too. So really pretty early on, we can consider pitting.
What is the driver situation? What is the minimums?
So 10 minute minimum drive time. So
explain that strategy. So the last race, Jordan started and was in there for like 2 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and almost the time his came up, they pulled him and they put Antonio in, and he finished the race. So it looks like that's the opposite today. Is that because
Well, there was a there's a lot of reasons why you could justify pitting super early. So one of them is a lot of times to get better track position.
Yeah.
Because you're caught up in a bunch of cars, and you can get out and run free track, run out of traffic.
Yeah.
Is definitely a big one here. But yeah, so we're just kind of all running as we were. So pit windows. So like I was saying, opens up pretty early. In fact, probably, yes, as soon as we hit that sort of 10-minute minimum driver time, we could.
Yeah.
It'll be kind of a 2-stop race, most likely. So really, I would think people start looking at pitting as early as lap 30, I would think.
Okay. Morton, good to see you. So Captain Richard, I believe that is a new name we've seen on here. Thanks for watching along. Nick Guzman, I hope the baseball game is going well, and thank you for watching us. Shipley, how are you? I think so. Captain Richard, where are you calling in from? What state do you live in?
Yeah, he's on Twitch too.
Oh, good. With the kids.
Nice. Tampa, Florida.
Tampa,
awesome.
Florida.
Okay. Right on. So I think there's not a whole lot happening in terms of passes and things. This is a really tough track to pass. So you've got basically all the GTD Pro cars running 1 through 5.
Yep.
The gap starting to grow a bit on the 23.
So could this be strategy for most of the cars to play it easy the first half of the race, conserve fuel, so when they go in to get fuel, they don't need as much to hopefully leapfrog people?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's probably the most common strategy, especially if you're not the leader.
Yeah.
Is to try to conserve fuel as much as you can, because in an IMSA pit stop, the longest part of the stop is the fuel.
Right.
Assuming you need more than a few liters.
Yep.
So basically, yes, if you're out there conserving fuel and you can pit and take and do your fuel faster than others,
yep, because
you use less fuel, you can pass cars. So a lot of times what'll happen is it's kind of a competition to save fuel.
Yeah.
So guys are trying to run a competitive lap time and save as much fuel as you can. So when this stop happens, you could potentially pass them. So so Richard, Captain Richard followed us at Sebring. Were you at Sebring?
Oh yeah,
he was probably at Sebring and at Laguna. Okay, cool.
Captain Richard coming in strong.
Yeah, were you at Laguna or just following us along? Because that we did do Laguna, right?
We did, yes.
Or was that our beta? That was our
I can't remember.
Preview one.
Yeah, he was there at both races. Cool.
Oh, cool.
And what kind of car do you have? Are you a fan, or do you have a car that you do track days with, or somewhere in the middle?
So we're waiting for that. The timing and scoring data, by the way, I can just talk through what we've got up there. So the first at the top there, you have 3 clocks. Those are like race clocks, basically saying we're 9 minutes into the race, 2:30 left. And then that third one is kind of where we are on track. So we're the 3 car, we're in sector 3, and we're 49 seconds in. Oh wow, Richard's got
HAT is C6, Z51 package, C7,
wow,
C06. have a C806 on order. So when are they telling you you're going to receive your Z06? I saw that. I think they delivered a Z06 to Australia, and it was like $380,000 because of all the taxes and tariffs and everything they stack onto it. Yeah, those things are rocket ships. Yeah, when did they tell you you're going to get it, and how long ago did you place your order? I'd be curious to see that. It's interesting because I have now started watching a lot of the other just Corvette non-racing Facebook pages. And it's interesting to see all the posts coming from all the owners for, the regular Stingray and Z06s and when they're coming in. I think Chevy is a big fan of the Z06 because it's grabbing a different demographic to come into the brand. And then, you still see the rumors online of maybe Corvette building a 4-door sedan SUV. Those have been out for a while. I have no idea whether that's going to happen. I see all the same rumors that everyone else does too. But I think Doug mentioned that last time he was on the stream that, if you look at all the other manufacturers in our class, even, they're doing the same thing. They're taking a performance brand and they're familyizing it while still keeping a rocket ship under the hood.
Right.
So I think that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, make it, keep it cool, but make it more practical. Right?
Yeah. Wow. 3 years.
3 years.
Next year, hopefully. Oh, God. Jesus. Oh, yeah. There you go. Denmark.
Yeah, Martin's on, right? Hey, Martin.
Yeah, roughly $390,000 US dollars.
Wow. Wow. So the chatter on the radio is talking about what's everyone's doing, who's saving fuel, who's not. As you can see, everyone's kind of the gap to the leader is opening up for everyone right now. So the Aston is now about 2 seconds in front of the Lexus and 3.5 to us. So there is some talk is the Lexus kind of push a bit and try to close that gap a bit to the Aston, but they seem to be kind of holding steady right now at about just a titch over 2 seconds. So I've got to certainly have a close look on that.
And so the few new people on here, we're obviously racing in Connecticut. Pratt Miller's headquarters is based in New Hudson, Michigan, which is 50 miles west of Detroit, ish. And then Luke and I are sitting in our satellite office here in Huntersville, North Carolina. I believe about 55 people call this office home. And we are going to have some fun news coming up shortly about this facility and what we're going to be putting in this facility. So that'll be pretty cool. And then I don't know how much of you or how many of you saw the news. So Brandon, who is our boss to report to, he sits in Michigan. He was interviewed by Marshall Pruitt with Racer about several different things, but the one story that had some traction out of that was our desire to go IndyCar racing. That is, it's much more than a desire. We're really in the process of putting some things together. So that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
So that's going to be cool. And I don't know how many of you know, but a lot of the back-end engineering for the Chevy teams in IndyCar from about 19 or 20, 10 or 11 years prior to that, every Chevy IndyCar team had a Pratt Miller person attached to them at the track. And then Pratt Miller during the week would work a lot on platform aerodynamics, all the engineering nerdy stuff. So there was a lot of the secret sauce that went into a lot of the Chevy wins, especially during the aero kit era, that pretty much originated from one of our two buildings. Yeah,
we completely designed the aero kit when it was manufacturer specific aero kit. Yep. And had a dominant run while that was in there. So that was all done by us.
Yep.
So we're super excited about that hopefully, realistically on the grid in 2025, possibly 2024.
Yep.
Or maybe partial in 2024.
Yeah.
And that'll be a lot of fun.
And Morton, because we've had some pretty lively discussions here about IndyCar, and I think I'm not sure how many of you are up to speed with how Formula One broadcasts themselves and what that model looks like. I would be a huge proponent of IndyCar following that same model because I think that just makes a ton of sense. But basically, it's so when you watch a Formula One race, all the cameras, all the people, all the mixing trucks, those are all Formula One owned, and that travels. They shoot the race how it's their product. They're going to shoot it how they want to see it. That signal goes up to a satellite, and then they sell broadcasting rights all over the world. And I think that's the most efficient way to broadcast it. And I think IndyCar would be primed to follow that same model because I think open wheel racing translates globally.
Yeah.
You look at the drivers, there's very few American drivers there. So
right, yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that's super exciting. I think there's a lot of opportunity then to do a lot more with their broadcast.
Yeah. Greg, nice to see you. I think that's a new name as well. Chandler, Arizona. Yes, I have a friend who's he pinged me a few times this week. He lives in Queens Creek, Arizona, and they're thinking about moving out here. So he was asking me some questions. And I think that you guys have been 118, 120 for crazy, right? 10, 12 days.
Week after week after week. Yeah. I hope you guys are doing okay out there. Yeah, I heard something like you turn on the tap and the water come out of your tap is hot.
One of my daughters said there was a lady in Arizona that put a couple pieces of bread in her mailbox, shut it, and they opened it up and it baked it. It's like Minnesota in the winter where they take water and they throw it and it freezes in midair.
Yeah. All right. So race wise, gaps seem to be stabilizing now. So that Lexus appears to be running about, we'll call it 2 seconds behind the 23 car. We're about 3.7. And then that Porsche's, 5 seconds behind the leader. All of them have kind of stabilized. The only one that seems to be growing is the 79. Continues to lose a little bit of pace. He's a bit off pace relative to the rest of us, but there's still all the GTD pro cars are ahead of the AM cars, which is interesting. A lot of times we get mixed up with them quite a bit.
So, okay, here's a question for that I don't know. If you have a GTD Pro and an AM, like we have here, 2 separate classes, the GTPs are not there. And if you have a Pro Aston Martin and an AM Aston Martin, or same make or same manufacturer, but 2 different classes, will they work together to maybe create a draft, to create a pick, to do something like that?
They could.
Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely could.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could happen. I can't think of a time where I've explicitly seen that, but that's completely in the realm of possibilities. They certainly would, if let's just say that the Pro Lexus is leading, and we're behind the AM Lexus, well, that AM Lexus will certainly
hold us up.
Do his best to hold us up as best they can.
Yeah,
certainly. So, all right. So, we're really about 12-ish laps until we could potentially expect people to look at or consider pitting. But again, so on the radio, they're trying to figure out what's going on with the 79 Mercedes, because he's kind of dropping off the pace. And, we have engineers listening to all the other cars too, to keep a tab. And they've radioed to the 79 asking if they could pick up the pace and Jules saying no. So something's not, it might be off with the car, of why they can't run a fast pace. Yeah, things just seem to be settling out in this stint, and the guys are just kind of running out there. Again, like I said, doing their best to kind of conserve fuel, with the potential to make up some time in the pits. Yeah.
Yeah, Morton, I think he said, yeah, the Lexus looks strong. Yeah, the Lexus seems to be, they've been pretty consistent this year.
Yeah, they've had an advantage, performance advantage all year.
Yeah,
for sure. And
the baby elephant may have found its way to this car too.
Yes. Yeah. So on the radio, they're saying that the Lexus is commenting of some rear tire degradation. Not handling starting to go away a little bit. So yeah, lifetime wise, everyone's super close right now. The gaps are kind of holding fairly steady. So Captain Richard, did we make it out to Le Mans? So no, we did not. We were here, exactly where we're sitting, and live streamed the entire 24 hours.
That was our first attempt at it. Well, first big time attempt.
Yeah, and in hindsight, I don't know how we did that, but we did. So yeah, we sat in these chairs for 24 hours.
Lots of caffeine.
Kept the conversation going. There's a lot going on, and we had a ton of guests on.
Yeah,
which was really fun.
Yeah, and so this idea came about actually to tie it back into Florida. Luke and I were coming back from Sebring,
Yep.
driving to the airport the next day. And so Luke is the trained engineer nerd. I have a marketing background, and I love cars. So I think we have a lot of bases covered just between the two of us. And so we were talking about like what I'm a big proponent of trying to do things new and try and be first, offer value to the people that follow us, and not just, posting a picture and, just whatever. So we talked about this idea, and it really made sense because, again, when you have these big, longer races, there's a million cars on track. And the marketing guy, I want our car to be on TV as much as possible, but we know just the nature of the beast with IMSA, especially when you have 4 classes on there, it's just not going to happen. So how do we create our own channel, if you will? And that's basically what it was. We created our own channel, and taking advantage of the technology that is available to us for not a whole lot of investment. Most of all this stuff is either I owned it or is already here. So this, it was actually pretty easy. And again, I can't say enough about StreamYard. Luke found that. It's a great streaming platform. But again, from a marketing standpoint, when we go to look to new partners to come on board next year and forever, this becomes a sellable asset. I put the logo of the QR code and the Corvette down here. That could easily become, Crown Royal or whoever wants to sponsor us. I still think, and I haven't brought this up, so we're sitting in a room, there's no windows, and you can actually control the lighting pretty good, although we have a lot of ambient lights in here. I think it'd be cool to build a bar.
Yeah.
And if we get sponsored by liquor or beer, you just kind of hang out, and make it like, if you were to go to a sports bar and watch a race, like recreate that in this room. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, no, that would be super fun. Yeah, so Wayne, your question about fuel. So so there's not really a limit on fuel per team, but they do limit the tank size of fuel, and also the flow rate of the fuel rig when you fill the car. And why they regulate those things is they don't want to have one team or another have an advantage where they can run that much longer on a tank of gas or can refuel faster, because you could easily, pass and make up positions if you could do that. So a lot of that's very very closely regulated and different team to team, and that's so the fuel capacity is a BOP adjustment, and so is the fuel fill rate is a BOP.
Great question. David, that's great. You're going to go with the Rolex 24 in 24. Now, if the track doesn't do something to tie that in, 224s, they're asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
So you're by far not the first person to ask about merch. We are literally we have talked about that the last several weeks, even before that. So we're going to ramp up and get planning in place to have merch. I don't know what pieces and I don't know when they're going to come out, but we are going to get everyone covered and have merch.
Yep.
And the liveries for the cars, again, we had a call Thursday of last week. And so we're starting with livery, fire suits, pit equipment, pit awning, truck and trailer, paddock area, like everything that is going to have a color or a brand on it was discussed. We don't have anything final, but I will tell you the car is going to be yellow. We've talked about maybe going back a few generations, and there's been black, gray, white accents, either rocker panel or just behind the front wheel well, black on the ass end of the car to help keep the exhaust dust down to a minimum from a visual standpoint. So I think when you see these cars, at least this is my vision and my goal, when you see the car in 24 in Daytona, you're going to be able to look at one car and see a lot of influence from all the past cars. I think that would be the coolest. And I really love tying in past to present. And I think
that'll be super fun.
I think a lot of people will appreciate that. And because I think the best thing is, when you go to these races and you walk the paddock, the best thing is to grab a beer, stand at the garage when they're working on the car and just watch. And the longer you look at the car, the more things you see that pop out at you. And I want to be able to, almost put like little design Easter eggs in the car. I think that would be really fun too.
Yeah.
So,
hey, so FYI, I don't want to interrupt, but the 14 and the 79 have been in now to pit, but we're still out. The 23 still out, 9 still out, but yeah, the 14 and 79 have come in for their pit stop. Now the 23's coming in.
So now we inherit the lead. So we'll see when we go in. No, we know when we're going to go in. We're not going to announce that. We'll announce it when we're in the pits.
Yeah. So I haven't heard anything yet about us pitting. I think we're gonna push hard. So yeah, they missed the pit stops because of commercial. But yeah,
No, they're replaying it now.
Yeah, okay, so now they're showing the 14 in. Yeah, so they did. Make the call for us to pit too. So we're gonna be coming in here, and you'll be able to see this. So this is one of these deals where we want to see if we can make up some spots in the pits or not. So yeah, now they're showing the 23s into
the communication from pit box to car. Is it all public or is there private? It's all public. And is that by rule?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So everyone listens to each other. All right. So yeah, we came in, we pit, we're out. and then we'll see where we come out.
Corvette's on TV.
Yeah, they're showing us on TV now.
Can you flip back to the
Comments, sorry.
please?
Hey, there's
Yeah.
Joseph.
Morton, I agree. Yeah, yellow. Yeah, Charlie, you can tell all 60,000 of your people it's going to be okay.
Yeah, so we made it out in front of the Aston, but the 14s, the 14s ahead of us.
Hey, good to see you, Joe. Sorry you're late. That's okay. On call. Joe, what do you do? What are you on call for? Medical or infrastructure? I have a neighbor that works for Verizon and he's on call like every other week.
I think Joseph's in IT. Remember he showed us his setup?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So when are we thinking the
IT.
livery is going to be showcased? Do we talk about that yet?
When? We have an in-house designer and we have given her some direction. We need to have another follow-up meeting and start hashing it out. Another good thing is that we have for our designer the GT3 car totally naked. I think it was primer actually. We have every angle of it, and that's critical when designing these cars because you have to be able to see where the concurve dimensions are. The hood's going to be a little bit of an issue because there's a huge air dam. The car that was shown in Daytona for the release of this GT3 car earlier this year, to the naked eye, it's going to be roughly about the same. I think they've made some tweaks on it, but it has that huge air dam in the hood.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a hole in the hood that we're going to have to get creative on how we
Work around that.
work around that. Visibility, wing angles, depending on what angle you look at it from, whether it's a rear 3/4 shot. IMSA, I can't. I'll hold my comments
There's
there.
a lot of demand for space from IMSA with the number plates and the
and they take up, and those number plates take up like probably some of the best real estate on the car.
They do, yeah, for sure.
On the door. So we're gonna treat the roof of the car as our hood, as being the biggest, dimensionally biggest area of the car that's relatively flat. So that's going to be a big spot for us. We'll have more news coming out with partners, new partners, some new logos that will be new for everyone that has been familiar with this Corvette Racing program. That will be announced mid-October.
Right on. So we are, about 4 or 5 seconds behind the Lexus, and we were able to get by the 23. I'm not sure, did something happen to the 23 that gave us that? Did you hear anything on the?
No.
What
Didn't
happened? Let me see if I can find out.
And then Wayne is asking, will the second car carry the number 4? I don't know. It probably makes the most sense, but I don't know for sure. So our 2 senior guys that oversee the Corvette Racing program, Ben and Mark, they're at the track now. They're going to handle all the communication between our team and IMSA. So all the technical stuff, getting the cars entered on paper, securing numbers and things like that. So that's more in their wheelhouse. I think 4 makes sense, but we'll see.
I'll ask Mark.
It looks like they jumped the 23 after the pit stops. Was it because of faster lap times or faster pit stops, or both?
Yeah, I'm checking on that.
Yeah.
Right now.
Captain Richard, I don't know.
Yeah. So they had the 23 had a bad stop, supposedly, and got stuck in some traffic. So I'm gonna I can look at their stop time really quick and see
And then for the Corvettes, we are building 20 over 2 years.
Correct.
And they're not all going into one series, so they'll be throughout the world.
Yeah.
However, I think with the rule shifts that IMSA has created, and still I think GT racing as a whole is pretty dominant. I would expect to see more cars than you have in the past. An exact number, I have no idea, but I think it's still going to be a healthy field.
In what?
GT3, at least in IMSA.
So there'll be some AM cars. There'll be some Corvette AM cars too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. So the 23's pit stop time was a 43. And we were a 39.8. So they had a bad slow stop. That's how they kind of lost their deal. And let's check the 14 seemed to do okay. So let's check what the 14 did. So the 14 had a 27.8 stop. $39.8. Man, that seems really quick. So, so we're behind it's a 12 car, which is what? So the 12 car is, so the 12 car is the other Lexus. So the scenario you were just talking about is playing out right now.
Yeah.
So we are behind the number 12 and for sure they're going to try to slow us down.
Yeah.
Full course yellow. Crash in turn one. We'll see who this is.
Andretti. That's the Jeff
They're showing the
Andretti.
wreck, yeah.
Oh, there's a couple. It was a Porsche and a Porsche.
Full course yellow.
Aston Martin. I think that's the AM.
It's the AM.
Yeah.
The AM one. Okay, so the 9 currently is the race leader. So the safety car is gonna pick him up.
So they'll pull the carcass off the track. They'll open pits, and then before they go, they'll separate them per class. Is that what they're going to do, roughly? Like get the pros bunched up.
Well, good question.
Jared Andretti, sorry.
Yeah, so typically they separate the GTD cars from the GT cars, right? And they open the pits once for the GT cars, or once for the GTD cars, and then once for the GT cars. But we don't have those. So I honestly don't know if they pit all the GT cars together or not. Yeah, so they're talking on the radio about the pass arounds. So which basically means if you are ahead of your class leader, you you will pass the safety car, come all the way around and get to the back of the field. But for our class, we're all kind of lined up behind the safety car. So no one's going to be coming through. But I do see looks like four cars going around, and you can too. So if you look at the track map, you can see little dots, very small. So there's the big dots, which are the class competitors, and then there's tiny little dots, which are all the cars on the track. So you'll see, it looks like 4 or 5 cars. Yeah, so they do separate the pits between GTD Pro and GT, which is awesome.
Steven, has there been any announcement of vets for SRO? No. Joe, I noticed a few times a big puffs of dust, like other drivers are dropping wheels. That's exactly right. It looks like it's about turn 1, 2, 3, right around there. Is a pretty popular area to drop tires. And obviously it looks like they haven't had any rain up there in a while, so everything is crispy dry. 2024 driver lineups. Any chance Nick Verone comes to IMSA? He seems like the next superstar driver. His Le Mans stint was crazy fast. Crazy fast, absolutely. Driver lineups, those are going to be a while. I would imagine probably, I don't know, right before or right after Halloween, if I had to guess. I don't know.
So everyone's pitting. Of course, there's a commercial break. Well, it's happening. Hopefully, they show it once they come back.
Yeah. Yeah, Captain Richard, that hood. At least he wasn't dropping body parts and pieces all over the track. Although, the big pieces seem to stay on the car. But that's always troublesome. Oh yeah, there you go. That's what you're referring to. That's a front wing. It's turned into a front wing for extra downforce on the front of the car. They're taking their sweet time getting that Aston Martin dug out.
Yeah, so.
Oh, wow.
So pretty interesting. Yeah, so pretty interesting pit cycle here. Yeah, so the 9. So because the 9, we'll run through the whole thing of what everyone did, because it's actually pretty complicated. So the 23 stayed out and did not pit. The 14 Lexus came in, did fuel, no tires, and we suspect that they actually underfilled the car to hold track position. We came in, we fueled and did left side tires. Left side tires are the outside tires, so we get more wear on those. Not sure what the 79 did. They're off the pace. Maybe we can figure that out. And then the 9, they were the leader. They had not. This was their first pit stop, so they had a very long fill, right? Because they had to do a full fill. And I'm sure they did full service, etc. So yeah, everything's kind of spread all over the place. The 9 definitely has 4 tires. Let me see if I can figure out if the 79 did.
No one will sign before there's some Jake merchandise. Jake merchandise will definitely be a part of our new merch coming out, for sure.
So yeah, super interesting. large difference in strategies now.
Yeah.
It seemed like
And Antonio's still in, right? Yep.
Yeah, so the 79 did not do tires. So we're the only ones with tires, and we just did left sides. It's like a NASCAR move.
So Morton, when it comes to Jake merchandise or any of the merchandise, I guess this is for the whole bunch. What is your ideal piece of merch? Is it a hat, a shirt, a tumbler, something for your car? Like what are some of the things that you folks are going to look for? Like they have to have this. What is this? If you can help give me some ideas. I have my own ideas, but I'd love to hear what your feedback is. All of the above.
All the above. He wants it all.
Captain Richard, have you been able to take C8R for a test lap or two? No, sir. So I don't know about you. You have been in motorsports longer than I have by maybe a few years. I've been in 21 years. I've never driven a professional race car. I've driven some crazy street cars, but I've never driven a race car. Have you ever driven a race car?
Around the pits and things like that, but not on the track. I've been in cars.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times they'll have the second seat where you get taken around, which is just an absolute riot.
Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've gotten to do that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've been in a NASCAR, kneeled down in the passenger side, holding on.
Hold on for dear life.
Holding on, to Greenville Pickens.
Yeah.
Holding on to the roll cage. That was scary as hell. But yeah, that'd be it for me.
The fastest car I drove was a 66 Mustang GT with 310 blown through the hood, dual quad, had wheelie bars and a parachute, and I drove that on the street. And that thing, I got 20% into the gas briefly, and it scared the shit out of me. Like it was a tube chassis car, but you could still feel the whole thing come up just from that little pop. It ran super hot, so we really had to be careful driving on the streets. You didn't melt it, but that was the fastest car I'd ever driven. It was awesome.
So we're about to go green here, and run down it again. The 23 did not pit that last stop. They last stopped 17 laps ago. The 14 took fuel but no tires. We're in third with left side tires. We believe the 79 did not take tires, and then the 9 Porsche, has four new tires. So I think it's gonna be pretty cool to see how this plays out and how pace looks.
So the gaming question about when the GT3, if and when it gets included into any games, I have not been involved with any gaming stuff here at Pratt Miller. However, I would imagine it's fairly common where the game manufacturer will go to the car manufacturer to get approval and or permission. So that will be a conversation between the game manufacturer and General Motors. And I'm sure they will say, sure, you can go scan it. And then they will let us know that the car needs to get scanned. We'll get something on the schedule, where the car's not moving. And then the gaming manufacturer will send their people out with their scanner, and they'll take all the scans of the car. That's roughly how it'll work, more or less. But yeah, we had a couple folks talk about or ask some gaming questions on social media this past week.
Okay.
Vinyl Corvette Racing sticker to put on my C6 polo shirt.
Right, so races restarted, by the way.
Yeah. So like this little quarter zip thing polo shirt, these are really cool. So yeah, stickers have been on the list. A polo like this has been on the list.
Oh, so we just got, I think we just got called for a drive-through. Let's see if I can hear more. That's not good.
Yeah, 2012 Baltimore Grand Prix. God, that was back in the day. I was there too. So you got a chance to sit in the C6R. That's awesome. Yeah, we had the current car in Long Beach earlier this year, and they had like a little car festival, car show across the street in their little entertainment district, and we threw a couple of kids in there for pictures. But yeah, that's the best.
Did I do that right?
Yeah, I would agree. Again, being new to the team, the guys that are with the cars on the weekends, the race team, they're great. They get it, they understand it, they know why they're there, and having that consistency for the past 25 years racing Corvette. These guys are rock stars as well. But people know, and it's very much a family feeling, even though it's like a professional sports fan base. I think everyone is really respectful of each other. You kind of get the winks as you pass each other in the paddock with everyone wearing their Corvette gear. So it's a really cool group of people. Yeah, Luke's listening to the radio, so we'll figure out what happened.
I'm checking on that. No, we do not have a drive-through.
Okay, yeah. So TV's showing our roof cam.
Yeah, sorry, Todd. The 79 has a drive-through. It was leaving the pit with equipment.
Oh, okay.
So I think their hose was still stuck to their car or something like that.
Yep.
Sorry, false alarm.
Yep. I still think it's amazing when we're behind that Toyota to see the difference in vehicle profile. I mean, our car is so much lower.
Yeah.
Like almost like a basketball.
Yeah. It looks way cooler.
Way cooler.
Way cooler. Yeah, I mean that's a sedan, right?
Yeah, I mean,
where we're
Toyota.
Corvette's like a real
The Japanese car manufacturers, for a lot of their history, have not been known for designing sexy cars. I think the car looks okay, but our car is way cooler than.
Yeah, Richard agrees. Way better. Best looking car on track.
Yeah.
So all right, so that let's see here. So yeah, this is showing obviously the 79's dropped way off the pace. We are, let me zoom in on this to see these gaps a bit better.
And again, those of you on the stream now, in about 6 or 7 minutes, we're going to be talking with Doug Feehan, the man, the myth, the legend. And we'll find out how his golf game was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so gaps after that restart are holding pretty steady.
Yeah, David, we touched on this a little while ago. The first portion of the race, maybe so far, cars get strung out probably on purpose to try and conserve fuel to make sure that their first pit stop will be as quick as possible. And requiring less fuel is going to get you in and out of the pits quicker. So I think I think any race team is going to take whatever length the race is and break it down into, 3 or 4 bite-sized pieces and plan out each portion and then stitch those together and then have contingencies for yellows when they come out. But yeah, there's a lot of strategy playing out, and still Antonio's in the car, and there's a 10-minute minimum for each driver. So Jordan still needs to come in at a certain point, and I would assume he's probably going to get in and finish the race, but we'll see.
Yeah. So we could do it on one more stop.
Yeah.
Basically.
So we'll put the young whippersnapper in there and see what he can do.
One more fill to get to the end. And that, so basically, like the way you look at fuel strategy is you look at you play it forward. You play it forward and backward to see how long you can run playing it forward, and then running it backward. How soon can you put gas in the car and make it to the end? And overlaying the two, you get what are called pit windows. So right now, looking at the pit window, so we could run as far as 62 laps, but can pit as early as 44 more laps to make it to the end, because the stint length is 75 laps.
And then tell me again, let's say we need 7 seconds of fuel. How does the fueler know when to start or when to stop?
They're told on the radio.
On the radio. So there's someone behind them with the stopwatch.
Yep. Yep. So the 23 is definitely holding his own. We're kind of right there, really, with the Lexus. So I don't know if you guys, I haven't mentioned it yet today, but if you go to IMSA Live, you can scroll down, turn the telecast on, scroll down, and you can choose in cars, and you can pick the Corvette. So if you watch the Corvette right now, it's pretty good visual of us behind the Lexus. He's half a second up the road, so we're right there together for sure. So which is super cool. I also put a bunch of stuff down in the notes of the stream about you can pull up the BOP if you want, the schedule, the track map, all kinds of different things that you may want to check out. But yeah, it looks like we're just sitting in behind that Lexus, holding kind of this gap. So we're both running. So the last lap we ran a bit faster. They ran a 52.37. We ran a 52.235. So we're kind of right there with them. Be interesting to see if a few more laps go by, if our fresh enough tires give us enough advantage to try to make a pass on track. Again, this track is pretty darn tight, so you don't see a lot of on track passing. But hopefully we can see some, which is always exciting.
I have a giant head.
Hey Jim, so why do you not let us listen to pit to car comms? So that is the property of IMSA. They have the rights to broadcast that. We per the rules cannot. If we could, we would for sure.
Yeah.
In fact, we kind of got special permission to show the time and scoring, which is also their property, but they were supportive of us using that for you guys.
Jim, are you related to Bob Lutz by chance?
Oh, and there's Doug.
There he is.
Sweet. All right. So how do I do the comms for that? I need to switch comms here, right?
Yeah. No, I think you switched comms to talk to the pits. You should be good to go right now.
All right. Well, let's get that.
Doug, can you hear us? Give us a thumbs up.
Yeah, he's got us. All right.
Okay, cool.
All right, Doug, you got us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got
Yes,
you.
sir.
How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How about you?
All right.
Good, good. Thanks for joining. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Sun
Yeah.
shining, great day.
So we have to know the last race we did. You were on the golf course. How did you do?
Actually, I was exceptional that day.
We wouldn't expect anything less.
No, nor did I.
Yeah. Awesome.
No, it was a good round.
Have you watched the race so far, and what are your
I
initial
have.
thoughts?
I have. Well, I mean, it's Lime Rock.
Yeah.
It has its own definition of racing.
Yep.
If you noticed, we haven't seen a lot of passing going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a track that lends itself to a lot of side by side, and it's wickedly fast for what it is. It's a pretty dangerous place, actually.
Yep.
And it comes down to 25% great team, 25% great car, 50% good fortune, and it's going to be won or lost in the pits.
Yep.
That's about the only place you can
Right.
really do any damage at all as far as making up time. So it's a highly all races are strategic races, but this is pretty incredible when you're running 50-second laps. I mean,
Right.
it's hard to make a pit stop not to go down a lap. So the timing of your pit stop, the luck of the draw with a caution flag. I mean, it's you got to pay attention. The crew guys especially. Ordinarily, you get to a normal racetrack and the guys can come in for their pit stop and they can come off, take the helmets off, sit down, get something to drink, look around a little bit. You cannot do that at Lime Rock.
Yeah, you gotta be ready.
You have to be up. You have to be up on the wall for the 2 hours and 40 minutes.
So back in the day when you traveled with the team, what was your race day like? What were your responsibilities? Did you have a hand in strategy or?
Well, let me put it this way: as a team evolved, all right, everything changed. Early on, I mean, Gary Pratt and myself were working on the car. I mean, we did everything.
Right.
But as the team grew and the economics changed, finances changed, you bring in areas of specialization. The last probably 8 years, 10 years. I mean, Gary and I don't want to say we just watched, but compared to what we used to do, we just watched. I mean, I sat up in the tower. I was right next to the race strategy guys. I mean, the only time any input from me was going to be required would be if there was a rules issue, an infraction, or if we had to make a decision on what team orders were going to be.
Okay.
But from a strategic standpoint, it is so sophisticated today. I mean, you look at the camera shots of our pit setup, and you see those young people with eyes on computers. You've got 6-8 people down there putting together the strategy and forecasting where we might be. Putting together every scenario that could possibly occur, where we are in relationship to the leader.
Yeah.
It's big science today.
Yeah. Hey, so if you're watching now, we're actually battling right up on the Lexus now.
Yes.
So the Lexus ran wide. It looked like 7. Ran wide on 7, and we got right up on them.
I'm not sure the Lexus took tires in its pit stop, did it?
The Lexus did not.
And we took, I
took
think
left
we took
sides. Yeah.
So that's going to come into play later, as we get deeper into this fuel run.
Yeah.
And
So
I think that's what you're seeing. This is a ripe opportunity for Antonio to put together a forced error on the Lexus part.
Yeah. So we're 22 laps into this one, and because the Lexus did not pit, they are 37 laps on their tires.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And again, it's right back to what I just said. It all gets down to the strategy. I mean, you know, they're looking at where they are now and where they're going to be. The only lap that matters is the last one. So,
Exactly.
they're not unaware of what they did, and they're not unaware of what we did. So that's the chess game. That's what really makes it fun here.
Yeah. So the other thing is because the Lexus obviously doesn't want to lose a position. Pace has picked up a little bit, and we're actually closing the gap some on the leader. Yeah, so it's about 2.5 seconds, but the 23 is probably saving fuel, and the 23, by the way, didn't pit. Yeah, the 23 did not pit on that last pit stop, so they've got a long fill coming up.
Well, and in this race too, where it's only GT cars, there's not a lot of stuff in between places. In other words, you don't have 4 categories of cars you got to work your way through when a yellow comes out. So, when you're leading right now, I don't want to say it's meaningless, but it doesn't mean a whole lot, because there's going to be another yellow flag and the field's going to close right up. So, saving fuel, saving tires is what you want to try and do here. And not let the leader get too far out there. But if you can keep nobody in between you, if you can keep within your category, you're in good striking shape.
Yeah. So it does seem, this race more than a lot this year, all the pro cars are running together.
Yeah.
Without any M cars as mixed in.
Well, they kind of qualified that way too, didn't they? I didn't look. I didn't go into the sheet real deep.
They did. Yep, you're right. They did.
That's this racetrack. That's not going to occur. Probably will not occur most other places.
Yep. Yeah. So Joseph commented, it seems like we are fast on entry and center, but seem like they get a big run on exit. But maybe we are saving fuel. So yeah, Joseph, they do. The Lexus, does seem to have more power and more speed. That's one of the things we've kind of been trying to encourage IMSA to address. We've been struggling with acceleration for sure. Has been one of our weaknesses, and asking for some reprieve on that. So the one thing about the Corvette is, talking about the body shapes, it's a very, very aerodynamic car, right? So way more aerodynamic than the Lexus, let's say. So what they do is they, kind of essentially penalize us for being so slick and aerodynamic by giving us less power. But when you get out of a corner, and you're accelerating and you're not at top speed, we definitely feel that, and you see that on track. But like if you watched 24 Hours of Daytona or something, you'll see that when it really comes to a top speed, the Corvette does have an advantage. But that's only good if you can use it.
Yep.
So.
Well, a pretty good way to look at power is look at the amount of fuel that each car carries. All right, you can't be any more powerful than the fuel you carry. That's where the horsepower is.
Yeah.
And when you've got cars running up front that have a massive amount of fuel, it just tells you how much more power they're making.
Yes.
Than the cars that are carrying less fuel volume.
Right.
Doug, what is your position on technology? Obviously, there's BOP to help balance the cars out. Do you think there will ever be a day where they'll try and balance out what the teams have access to in terms of technology? And if they get into, AI with, taking these inputs and prescribing a strategy, similar to Formula One, are you for or against that?
Well, today you can say what you're going to be. All right. I don't like limiting technology that is how can I say this? That's intellectually based. You have to limit technology from a dollar standpoint.
Right?
Yeah. And we see what's I mean, Formula One has suddenly actually become racing since they imposed cost caps. Right?
Yep.
Without cost caps, there was no racing. It was just a 20-car parade. Uh, I'm not a I you know, Formula One is Formula One. Here, I don't like limiting technology that's creative based. Obviously, if you get to things where you can, where it's massively expensive to whatever's developed, and that causes you to have to spend a lot of money to get there, then limits I think are necessary. Interestingly enough, this is a really good question, because back, I don't know, it would probably be 10 years ago now. I was sitting on the FIA Sporting Commission Council, and at Pratt Miller, we were working on our rear-facing radar program.
Yep.
All right. And I brought this up because I viewed it, and we viewed it as a safety issue, that we were working to improve the safety of racing. And I brought this up at the commission, and they looked at me like I was nuts or just blowing smoke. Yeah, sure. I explained to them what we were trying to achieve, how it would locate each car, assign a speed to it, know which side the car's passing on. I mean, that was our goal from the beginning. They didn't believe that. Okay. And so each time we met twice a year, each time I would go over, they would, at the end of the meeting, of course, they would, bring up, well, Feehan, where's your facing radar? I said, we're working on it. And they bought that just as an excuse. So we got it done. All right. And it was, the timing was perfect. We had finished it. We had put together for lack of a better term, a promotional film. It was an instructive film on how it worked, actually in-car camera.
Yeah.
I took that with me on a thumb drive, and presented it to the chairman. Eduardo Freitas was the chairman. He's now he's the race director at Formula One.
Yep.
A good friend. And I said, here's the rear facing radar. And he looked at me like, what? You got this done? I said, yeah, it's all done. I said, when we get to the end of the meeting, or anytime during the meeting, if you want to plug that in, I'll run through and talk to you about it. So you could see he was kind of taken back by it. Well, he puts that thumb drive in the computer, puts it up on the screen. Thing does every single thing that we had said it would do, and only just when you see it visually on the screen for the first time, it's pretty impressive. That's background for technology. Now, ideally, if you were in real business, you'd have this, you knew it was valuable. You could charge whatever you wanted for it. Not only was it a competitive advantage, but it could save you countless dollars in avoiding collisions, wrecks, all that stuff.
Right.
But we didn't do that. We were in concert with Bosch on this thing, and Bosch was going to market it. I think we put it out there for $20,000 or $25,000. Right. So there was a huge technological advancement that we made be affordable. That level of technology could have easily been banned. You can't have radar in your car, looking at other cars, blah, 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 because that's a performance advantage and the other guys can't have it. We could have kept it to ourselves, but we didn't. We shared that technology with everybody. That was our intent from the beginning, and we priced it so it was affordable. So there's a perfect example of advanced technology being available that you don't want to curtail. And there's myriad of examples in Formula One of technology that costs so much you do want to do it. So at this point in time, too early to say what's good, what's bad, because each case will have to be judged individually as we go forward.
Yeah, you're right.
AI is a pretty scary thing. I don't know if there's any limit to it. So, and I don't think any of us do.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see how it develops. I don't like limiting technology that's affordable.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
I think AI, machine learning, it's just going to get smarter and better literally by the day.
Oh, there's no question.
And the more you feed it, the better it's going to get. Yeah. And I always love seeing new technology across the world and whatever, but then how do you apply it to racing? And how is it going to be applied to racing? And who's going to figure out to be the first one to apply to racing? But I remember I was with another team when that rear camera debuted on the Corvettes in Daytona. And I remember one of our drivers came up to a group of people and was explaining what it was and what it did. And I was like, it does what? that is cool.
Mhm.
And I remember trying to like, I walked past, I think when the car was being pushed in the pits or something, and I bent down to look in there to see if I could see it. But yeah, that was like no one saw it coming, and then all of a sudden it was there and it worked and it was cool,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So like I said, that's taking the sport forward.
yeah,
Uh, so like I said, we'll be judging these things on individual cases going forward. I don't think there's I don't think there's a blanket statement you can make that'll be all inclusive
yeah.
for,
And
what
Joe is asking, did any of that radar, or at least the theory of that radar, make it to any production cars or no?
Well, actually, interestingly enough, the base sensor that we used, which was proprietary, Bosch owned that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, was used in the Cadillac for lane departure and blind spot.
Okay.
And what it did was it sent a signal and it vibrated the seat
That's right.
in the car.
Yep.
So that was the base technology that got our engineers at Pratt Miller excited about it, because they realized that level of technology could be expanded upon. Now, obviously, in a production car, you're not going to add $20,000 or $30,000 to the cost of the car to
Right.
be able to see what you got a rear view mirror. I mean, figure it out. So it was a sensor that existed that Pratt Miller saw the advantages, and we met with Bosch ahead of time to explain to them what we wanted to do, because we had to get the sensor. All right, it wasn't something that they just sold over the counter to everybody, and they were quite excited about what we were proposing to do, and we had their blessing, obviously, going forward. And at the end of the day, they're the ones that now sell the finished product.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because on the NASCAR side, I listened to a podcast with Andy Petrie, and he either owned or drove a Cadillac rental car. And when it had the latch mechanism on the trunk, where you just gently close the trunk, you can hear the latch grab it and it pulls it down.
Mhm.
So he took that mechanism and put it on the rear deck lid of a Daytona car and pulled the deck lid down and the wing out of the path of the air. And it was like 3 miles an hour faster than everybody else. But it was something a piece that they found on a production car that did a thing that they needed the race car to do. And they pulled it off of that and put it on a race car.
Well, to further that story, back in the Intrepid, we had a young program manager. I was running that program for Pratt Miller, and we needed a number of components from windshield wiper motors on forward. GM used to have a huge barn where they would buy competitive cars and completely strip them down.
Yep.
And on long tables, you would have every single part in that car. And we had access to that. I had access to that. And Greg and I would go in there and browse through these acres of car parts to find things that were production related that we could apply to racing.
Okay.
So the technology thing moved back and forth. We talk about racing developing better production cars. Production cars had content that we could also incorporate into racing.
Yeah. Fascinating.
That is really cool. So race update. Most interesting thing here is the 9 Porsches really clawed his way back, and it's kind of up in the mix now. So we're still, holding with the 14 car, right, half a second or less behind the 14 car, but the 9 Porsches right with us too. And that's the car. That car has 4 fresh tires versus our 2, and the Lexus is 0. So the Lexus is now on we'll call it 55 laps on those tires, and the 23 liter class leader, by the way, still needs to come in. They didn't pit on that stop. So because they pit before the caution, didn't pit during the caution, they have a 7-second fuel fill disadvantage to us. So what they're probably trying to do is work, if we have to green flag stop, if they work the gap up to 7 seconds, they'll be able to pit and get in and out ahead of us. But right now that gap's at 4. So they would need 3 more seconds to get a fuel become even on fuel advantage, I would say.
So Doug, I went to the Lime Rock website earlier and pulled some general information about the track, and the track themselves. They list some of the bigger names that have raced there. So I want to know, of the names I'm going to read off, how many of those names were you there and saw them race there? Andretti, Gurney, Brabham, Newman, Bell,
Well, we had several Brabhams.
Pruitt, and Kendall.
Yeah. Several of those worked for us at one point in time.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's what I figured.
pretty much everybody. You know, and there were a couple of Gurneys as well.
That's right. That's right. So who do you so from this is a marketing question. Outside of the car and during the week, the drivers that you have worked with, who do you think have the most marketable personality?
Well, we had several, actually. I mean, working most recent going back, Oliver had a huge advantage because he had a British accent.
Right.
And quite frankly, people don't care what's coming out of your mouth as long as it sounds like it.
Got that James Bond thing,
Right.
going
So
on.
So that worked out pretty good. You know, guys like Antonio and Yan are just basically quiet guys, so they don't. You know, Tommy does a wonderful job. I'll share a story with you if we've got time for that.
Yeah.
You know, we were looking for a new U.S. based driver, and Michelin held a program. It was called what the hell was it? It was done in Greenville, which is their headquarters.
Yep.
A beautiful little town if you've ever been there. Absolutely gorgeous. And prior to the Atlanta race, which is only basically a 70-minute drive from Greenville to the racetrack, they did a promotion like Thursday Night Thunder kind of thing, where they blocked off the main street in Greenville, and teams that were participating would bring the transporter in, unload their car, do a setup, and the people of Greenville will be able to come in and see all the race cars. And in some cases, we had drivers there. And we were a big participant and supporter of that. Tommy was driving for BMW at the time. I had watched him on the racetrack. I knew his dad, okay, which was enough to have us never hire him. Anybody who knows Tom knows what I'm talking about, the old man. At any rate, so I'm looking across the way from us, and I see a fifth wheel pull up, pickup truck pulling it, obviously, unloading, setting up a pop-up tent. They unload a car, and I'm looking, and it's Tommy and another guy. I'm thinking, well, that's pretty weird. First of all, it was weird that that's all they were bringing, because they were not headquartered not far from there. They were just bringing a fifth wheel and a car and a pop-up tent and some hero cards. Long story short, Tommy was there all day by himself, signing hero cards, keeping the thing looking straight, wiping the car down. I'm thinking, that guy has. I liked what I saw there from a marketing standpoint. Right. He was dedicated to that. That next year we had a driver shootout, and we invited Tommy in. That's how he got the job with us. So when we talk about marketability, there's a perfect example of marketability of a driver actually being key in him getting hired and advancing his career. Other guys were great. Ron was always really good. Johnny, you couldn't get him to shut up. He was worse than me. So we've had any number of guys that were, Tommy never drove for us in Corvette, but Tommy was we worked with Tommy for a while, and he did a great job. So, they all have their own little niche. They're all pretty special, and marketability doesn't necessarily equate to gregariousness. We look at Antonio. Antonio is really marketable. People are really intrigued with Antonio because he is a quiet guy.
That's right. Yeah.
And they, it makes you want to work a little harder, delve a little deeper into seeing if you can't squeeze something out of them. So that has a level of attractiveness.
And I think what I've seen play out on social media over the last several months with Antonio is the fans get to build the persona of how they perceive him.
Mhm.
And I get a lot of King of Spain, you know, and they put crowns in the post. And so because Antonio is not providing his own narrative, more or less, the fans get to do that. And
Yeah.
actually, it becomes even more engaging the less he says.
That's exactly my point. You know, it's very intriguing
Yeah.
to a fan. When the guy's right there in front of you and you still can't squeeze anything out of him, you know, you want to be there in case something comes out.
Yep.
He does a great job. And, you know, I used to at the Corvette Corrals introduce these guys to the fans, and we had a whole shtick that we would go through, a little entertaining intro.
Yep.
And that was always his, you know, for me, his claim to fame was that he was, you know, a pretty quiet guy. Now,
Yep.
now I will say this, and I can tell you this: you get a couple beers in the guy, you can't shut him up. I mean,
I would like to see that.
oh my God, he is a funny guy.
Yeah, I haven't had a ton of FaceTime with Antonio, but it's always been, "Hello, how are you?"
Mhm.
And that's
Yep.
really about it.
Yep. And I can tell you this: I have a rapport with him where he does not even need to speak. A head shake, a look, he
Yeah.
can answer any of my questions non-verbally as effective as he ever did verbally.
Right.
Yeah, that's what makes him so much fun. Great
Yeah,
guy.
it is. Is that a live shot? Yeah, so we're live.
Yeah.
So we're right on the back of the Lexus. Looks like some people were saying that we're really pressing the Lexus as we're supposed to do and causing some errors. The Lexus is having a problem keeping their rear end underneath them.
Yeah, you can definitely see him sliding around in 5. So both us and the Lexus are in the pits right now. So we basically followed the Lexus in, and we're actually kind of shorting the strategy, meaning you know, you assume a 75 lap window. There's probably 85 more laps. So pretty aggressive time to pit.
Well, Jordan's getting in too.
So yeah, the 23 is in now. Yeah.
Yeah, so TV's showing the driver change right there, which is another cool thing that IMSA is able to do. Always scares the death out of me, but
yeah. So showing us on TV now. Good. Yeah, you can see. Okay, you can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't pick up anything. Matter of fact,
Yeah, so you can see it on TV. Let's see how this plays out.
yeah, so
this is our driver change. So yeah, Antonio's done for the day.
Jordan getting the courtesy lights from the FAF Porsche.
So yeah, full service, 4 tires.
be interesting to see. I don't think Lexus took full fuel, just based on their time in the pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty fast stop.
You can see well, I'm watching the USA broadcast here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's simultaneous with the Peacock.
It looks like Peacock's we're on Peacock on both. Let's make sure we're
live.
Yeah, this or something. So yeah, so we didn't. Yeah, that Lexus had a pretty fast stop.
Yeah. So obviously they've extrapolating to the end of the race with whatever they're doing.
So yeah, so 79 did not pit.
And it looks like Porsche did the same thing.
The Porsche pit.
You show on your scoring how long they were in the pit lane, Porsche?
Yeah, I can check that. So we had our stop was let's see here. Our full stop time was 53.2. The Lexus was a 47.6.
Yeah.
And let me see here.
Is that from pit in, pit exit? Or is that actual park time?
It's a stop time. In and out. And then let me look at, but I think it's measured on the pit entry to pit exit.
Yeah, because we should only be stopped for maybe 32 to 35 seconds.
Yeah, let me check the 9 here. Right. The 9 is.
That would tell you, well,
the 9 was 46.9. Seven.
Is there a historical place during this race where they get in wrecks, or is it pretty much like this kind of the whole way through, or do they tend to get in caution periods towards the end of the race?
Unlike Daytona 500, no, they can happen anytime.
Yeah,
there's no, I suppose you could go back and filter through the data and see if there's a trend, but just offhand, not anything that you would just come up with and say, well, don't worry, in the last 22 minutes, there's going to be 3 yellow flags. I've never seen any data that supports that here. I can tell you, this is not a place where you want to crash, and the drivers know that. Because you're going pretty fast every place, and there is not a lot of safe runoff here. So that's not to say that they don't go brain dead.
Right.
Yeah, like tracks like Watkins Glen, where they have tire stacks in certain corners, but still they have K rails, the steel K rails in a lot of places that.
You only have to look. I mean, you just look down the front stretch and you see you got, it's like Mossport. You got about 4.5 feet from the edge of the track to the guardrail.
Right.
Okay. All right. So, so I'm just chatting with Ben here. So when Jordan went to take off, he had issues and the car didn't seem to be in the right gear. So they suspect that when they were doing the driver change, someone knocked the shifter and knocked it up in a second, so they couldn't get in the car and get it started and get off the line.
That's a good catch, David. David pointed that out there.
Yeah. So that's on us for losing time there. It's a bummer. Yeah, so everyone here's got to be pretty aggressive on fuel savings to make it to the end. Pitting as early as everybody did.
Under green, how long can they run here?
Well, so it should be around 75 laps.
For time-wise. So that's 70 times.
75 times 50 seconds, whatever that is. It's going to be... Yeah, it's like 62 minutes. So yeah,
So
like two-ish, 2 to 5 minutes
and
short.
we got
An hour and 4 minutes.
and we got 64 minutes to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone's going to be saving pretty aggressively, I think here.
Everybody should run out on 2 laps to go.
Yeah.
Doug, do you have any kids?
No, none that I know of.
Well, you have 2 yellow kids that you birthed 25 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. And about the 60 guys that have worked on them over there.
Yeah, big wreck, by the way. They're just calling out.
Yep. So that'll fix the fuel problem.
During commercial, so right on time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that should help, and then it should help clean up that big gap we have.
Yeah. That's just how, but you still got the issue of trying to have to pass here, which is really, really, really hard.
Yeah, so I'm looking at where we are on track, and 23:14.93. Yeah, so there's no AM cars in between us. So after they kind of run through this, we'll all line up, all the class.
Wasn't Oberlin leading?
Yes.
So that's an AM car.
That's a weird place to get in.
And Aribi's in between there too.
Yes.
They just moved him out.
That's
We're okay. It's just Oberlin leading, which is good for us because Bill is hard-headed enough that he's not going to let anybody pass him, including the pace car.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. There you can see it.
Yeah, that was the McLaren stuff in it. That's really weird. Looks.
You can
Oh, yeah,
see what I'm talking about here, runoff wise. I mean, you guys, you go off, it's over.
yeah. It looks like the back end just got light.
Yep.
Boom.
Whoa.
Not the best angle.
No.
But again, with all the safety innovations and technology,
Yeah.
as shown in Chicago for the Cup race, one of the best features is tire stacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there looks like there'll be 1, 2, potentially 3 AM cars ahead of us. I don't know if they're going to get wave rounds or not.
I think they will. The question becomes what they do with Oberlin. But I think they may just leave him there.
Yeah, because he's the overall race leader.
Can you show when he pitted? I'm just curious.
The 97?
Yeah.
Bill Oliver?
He hasn't pitted yet.
He last pit lap 46.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's probably gonna pit.
He's got 59 laps. And and
Yeah, there you go.
he may have to pit under yellow.
And we're 1 hour to go on the nose right now.
Yeah. That's too bad because he had worked his way. I think they started in 8th, 9th, or 10th spot. They were way back there.
Yeah, so pits are now open for GTD.
Oh, that'll be okay then.
But with this caution, we should now be good on fuel. Yeah, Morton, we should be good on gas now, and yes, be able to race hard from here. Oh, they're showing some actual racing. Some
This has been absolutely amazing. This shows you how hard it is to get by.
Oh, they're blocking them now. Oh my goodness, that's great. Yeah, the frustration level of these drivers must be so high.
Yeah,
being so desperate to get around, you know.
Even when you have a significant time advantage over the car in front of you, it's really, really hard to get by.
Yeah, and this really demonstrates it. Yeah, and he was blocking really aggressively too.
And what are the rules in blocking in IMSA?
Well, you put rules in quotes, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these are cars racing in class, so
I think they give you. I think they give you one move to protect your line.
Yeah.
After that, it's blocking.
Yep.
But Bo will make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
This track is so narrow, and you're turning. You know, this would be a hard track to enforce blocking unless it was really egregious.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I mean, you look through here. I mean, there's just no room to you. And if you're, you know, you have the right to the line as long as the car's not up alongside you. So,
yeah.
So David asking about safety in IMSA cars. Yeah, so IMSA cars are very safe. Yes, drivers wear HOMS devices. Pretty strict rules with side impact, rear impact, things like that. So yeah, safety is taken very seriously.
Especially Corvette. We have, I'll be unabashed egotist here and say we have clearly led the way of all manufacturers and all teams in safety.
Yeah.
5 years. It was instituted early on in our program, and we had a great GM safety engineer, a guy by the name of Tom Gideon, who worked with us developing seats. He developed the side impact box, the side safety nets, the interior safety nets. I'm here to tell you guys, we introduced all that to IMSA. NASCAR had some of that safety net stuff. It wasn't a requirement. We put it in our cars, and then IMSA, well, at that time it was American Le Mans Series.
Yeah.
Then IMSA put it into place. We wore helmets in pit lane before they were required. Yep. Every time we found something that would develop additional safety levels for our drivers or our team members, we instituted it. We didn't wait to be told.
Yep.
And it was closely followed by the series and by other teams. I'm pretty proud of that. We actually built our first race car, C5, and I took it to Milford, and we just got it done, and we crash tested it, which raised eyebrows for the guys who had hired me and were paying me.
Yeah.
But that's how important it was to me personally, obviously, and to our team, and obviously to General Motors. So I'm pretty proud of all the stuff we've done. You know, radar goes right with that. Lighting, if you notice, we don't use yellow headlamps at Le Mans anymore. That was another idea that I took forward at the Sporting Commission, asking them why we were using yellow headlamps on GT cars, because we knew, all right, that it dramatically reduced the lighting capability of the car shining through those yellow lenses. They said, well, so the GTP guys can see that. I said, well, what do you care if there's a slower car behind you? Right? What advantage is that? Mm-hmm. If anybody should have yellow headlights, it would be the lead cars, so the slower guys knew they were coming.
Right.
No, they didn't have any answer for that. And so Eduardo met with me after the meeting. He said, you know, why are you talking about this? I explained to him that we had done some testing and that the lighting efficiency of the car was dramatically reduced. I said, I rough numbers, I think was almost 40%.
Wow.
So I went back and had the engineers at Pratt Miller do an actual lighting study with the yellow headlamp covers over the clear headlamp covers. And it was, if I recall, it was almost 40%. Went back, presented that at the next sporting commission meeting, and they made the decision, and we now have we don't have to run yellow lenses.
Huh.
So another safety innovation that we fought for at Corvette.
Nice. That's a good story.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah, David, the Cup cars, my personal opinion, I think the Cup cars have taken a step back in terms of safety as a crash affects a driver. And, you know, it was a lot of politics, a lot of money, a lot of stuff behind the scenes that got to the Cup car where it is today. But as you've seen several times, there have been minor incidents on track, and these cars are still so rigid, and all of that shock will find the weakest part, and that weakest part is the driver's body.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll go right, it goes right through their body like a lightning bolt. And depending on what angle it is, you know, you still get guys that are getting concussions actually at a pretty decent clip, which is a little scary.
Yep.
But yeah, I think from a sports car standpoint, because there is so much overlay with the production car backwards and forwards, the materials that are used, you know, when you see these cars getting a wreck, visually they look like, oh my God, it's disintegrating. Well, that's what it's designed to do.
You're attenuating the energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think as of today, I think these cars are actually way more safer than a Cup car.
Well, I can only speak to our car. When you look at the side impact on some of the other cars, Ferrari, Porsche come to mind. I mean, I would never put a driver in a car.
Yeah.
I would never put a driver in a Porsche or a Ferrari with the side impact protection that they have. And that's by rule and regulation. They have the absolute minimum that the rules allow.
Huh.
And that's not a good thing from a safety perspective.
Yeah.
Worst thing NASCAR ever did was not hire Pratt Miller to design their next gen car. With the amount of knowledge that we have gained, institutional knowledge and experience knowledge with the wrecks that we have been in, you know, Laguna Seca with Jan Magnussen was a perfect example. In any other GT car on that racetrack, I'm here to tell you that would not have been survivable. And he walked away. NASCAR needed to go to Pratt Miller and have Pratt Miller do that level of engineering, design, and development on that car.
Yeah.
They would not be where they are today if they had done that. Just saying.
I agree.
Just saying.
I agree.
Hey, what do you think we should call Ben up, see what's going on?
Yeah, sure.
I'll see if he's available. You can make fun of his perfect hair, Doug.
Yeah, goddamn, I have hair envy. But I tell that to my cats all the time too. I have nothing.
Yeah, I'll see if you can call in. So Doug should be able to hear this too, right?
You should, yeah.
Let's see. Have you been in with us when we've called someone in, Doug?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
Well, we'll find out. All right, so I got to remember what goes what. So this is.
We need some AI.
Yeah, there we go.
We need something.
So this goes here, and this goes here. All right, did you turn
Yep.
this on?
Yeah, you're on. I can hear them talking faintly in the back.
Did you? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Hey, Ben Johnson, do you have a copy? Do you do that?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, we got you live on air with us. Kind of unfortunate about that last pit stop. Can you explain what happened there first and foremost?
It'll probably be, when you get post race, but the gearbox
Can you-
first and second, basically a false neutral. Pretty atypical and not something we've experienced before. So clearly, we'll do some work after race to understand. But with this yellow here, it's packed up the field, and we have good degradation compared to the rest of the field. So it'll be a race to the end now to try to gain position on the 14 car.
Yeah, so first of all, we don't use the D word on this stream. We call it tire fall off because none of us can say it properly. So please don't ever say that word again.
Understood.
And secondly, yeah, so everyone's going to be kind of clumped up here, right? No GT cars, AM cars in between us, I think, right? So it's going to be some tough racing ahead, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I had a clean race between the top 4 in GTD Pro, so it'll be about tire fall off here as we come back to green, and who's got the most courage going into turn 1. Looks like we're about to go green.
Yeah, and thank you for making the right decision there. All right, well, we'll let you get back to it, and yeah, we're cheering here back in North Carolina and all across the world, really. So, yeah, best of luck.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Ben. I can't believe you used the D word.
Degradation.
The good what?
An engineer.
So I remember when Chad Knaus had been announcing some sports car races, and then came back to NASCAR and was on TV on NASCAR and said the D word, and there was like, what is
that?
What is this word? What are you saying? What does it mean? Sounds so fancy. Sounds so European. So but yeah, yeah. So some gearbox issue, but sounds like we got some racing to do here. So in car will certainly be exciting to be watching now to see kind of what happens. But yeah, fuel seems good. Everything seems good. Looks like so they are green. They're green now, so we'll see it green on TV here in a second.
I think they're not green now, are they?
Yeah, they're green.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. So you see the green. Like
I just saw them coming down the front straightaway scrubbing tires.
Well,
scrubbing tires are breaking the draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so there they are. Oh.
Yeah, looks like green.
Yeah, back green now. Looks like the 9 and the 14 are pretty aggressive there. Let's see kind of what happens here.
Doug, what race are you going to be at next?
Elkhart.
Elkhart. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll definitely see you there.
Yeah, we'll be there.
And then are you going to be at the Corvette Museum function Labor Day?
Yeah.
Cool. Yep, we'll be there too.
Yeah, we're going to be going to
Good.
that.
Good. We may
Oh.
be doing something together there.
I think you and Brandon are going to be doing something there.
Yeah, maybe that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And then Luke and I I think we're going to get some time that Friday afternoon to talk about our fun project.
Good.
Yeah, so some pretty good racing. We're
Oh, see, interview with Antonio. This will be interesting to see how many words he can string together.
Some mistakes which didn't happen. So we were the ones that had a little mistake here on the last stop with something going on, tire not firing up or just not being clear. I don't know what happened there. So yeah. The last anticipation is going to be really fun on tires.
And we know that the Corvettes usually fare well here in these high-deck races.
so once it's done, you'll have to paraphrase for me.
He knows how to end his own interview.
So what's the paraphrase that for us?
Nothing much. He says we may have the pace to run lead speeds, but in traffic, not so much. He was disappointed with the little hiccup in the pit with the gear selection. Got knocked. I'll have to figure out what went on there. The one thing that I look at, and across all motorsports, is when a driver comes out of the car, especially at a physical track like this. Granted, he didn't drive the whole distance, but a lot. There was not a drop of sweat in that guy's hair. And I think
right.
I always look at to see like who are the people that are really physically fit, and in any motorsport, when they get out of the car and they're drenched and they look pale white, those are the guys not in good shape. But when you're not even breaking a sweat, you're ready to go.
Yeah,
Give credit where credit is due. It's great air conditioning.
That too.
yes,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We had a guy in Trans Am, guy by the name of Irv Hare, second generation racer, and it could be 98 degrees outside, and he just finished a hour and 10-minute long Trans Am race.
Yep.
And everybody was, in those days there wasn't AC, they had cool suits, which were as big a detriment as they were a benefit.
Yeah.
He get out of the car, he wasn't sweating at all, and you'd watch in-car camera with him, and he never worked. It was just amazing to see. It had a lot to do not only with his physical makeup, but and he was not a fit guy. He was not one of these fit junkies. He's an old man. But it was just the amount of work that he did, and how he was able to, maintain the level of physical exertion that he was putting into driving the race car.
I can't remember what year it was, but it was when Ricky and Jordan were driving for their dad in the 10, and I believe it was a Rolex race, Rolex 24, was it Rolex 24? And Wayne wanted to be able to drive in the same lineup with his kids. So Wayne was in the car at the absolute minimum you could be in there. I think it was 30 minutes. And so he did his deal. He came out of the car. He sat on the pit wall and they interviewed him. He looked like he was going to die. Like it looked like someone dumped a bucket of water over him. He was slouched over, out of breath. So I always find it comical, especially online, when people say that drivers are not athletes. And I think that couldn't be further from the truth. And when you have someone that's not in physical condition, that's getting in a prototype car at the time, and you have other guys getting in and out, and they're like, it's just another day at the beach for them. And you watch someone that goes in a car that is not conditioned for that, and it looks like they're just going to need the paddles. It's a pretty good visual to show like how much of an athlete you need to be in these things.
Yeah, it is.
Make a note for a future podcast about that. And I have a great Dale Earnhardt story.
Oh yeah. Okay, good.
Exactly on that same note.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. So watching the in-cars is pretty awesome. Seeing what's going on. We're all kind of stacked up there. It looks like the Aston definitely has a bit of a gap. We're kind of pretty close to the Porsche, and you can see the Lexus right there too. There's been a few comments or questions about the Porsches showing some damage to the bodywork. Some questions about that. So that could be a good thing if that kind of gets disturbed a little bit more. It seems like for whatever reason, this new Porsche, the rear bodywork comes off super easy. So it's been a couple times this year I've seen where the whole rear end of the bodywork fly off of those Porsches.
We need the Porsche to take out the Lexus before it.
Yes.
Before it retires with body damage.
Yes. Yeah. So
that's our biggest ally right now.
Yeah, and a replay of Mosport.
Yeah,
is what we need. Yeah, so it seems like the Porsche just can't quite get up to quite get up to the Lexus. Now, Now, I did not mention this, about the BOP. I forgot about this one, but the Porsche dropped 20 kilos for this race relative to Mosport. Just pretty big weight savings to get them more in it. But yeah, the gaps seem to have stabilized between all four. Well, everyone but the Mercedes. The Mercedes is definitely struggling with something. They're just way off the pace. So Corvette said GT3R livery revealed at Road Atlanta. Maybe.
I'm not sure we're planned out that far.
Yeah. It's definitely not going to be in the next few weeks.
Yeah. So with the livery, just so people know, and the announcement we made that going into 24, Pratt Miller is going to be an independent team. So what that means from an off-track standpoint and logistics standpoint is that we are going to be the first line of defense when it comes to funding the team, finding new sponsors, whether that's cash deals, trade deals, in kind, whatever it is. And then based on what their investment is in the team, their assets, their team assets will reflect that. And a portion of those assets is what you see on the car and the driver fire suit. So it's going to take a lot of coordination to find out what are the sweet spots of the car in terms of what gets shot on TV well, what looks well on TV. Those will be your higher, more valuable spots, as opposed to smaller locations that may be like on the corner of a bumper or things like that. And then there's all the stuff that IMSA needs, for their numbers. Michelin, you have to run certain stickers on certain parts of the car across the board if you're running Michelin tires. Manufacturer has to be in a certain location. So there's in theory, we control the car, what it looks like, but there's still parts and pieces per the rules that we technically don't control. And we have to put what we're told there. So when you back out those locations on the car, and then you provide a baseline design, so it'll largely be yellow, but there'll be some accent, colors and lines here and there. So we have to. It's a lot to separate out and to make sure that everyone's getting their fair share of visibility on the car and all the team assets, for that matter. So and in the past, prior to us being an independent team, we got the crew together, we got everyone together, and GM sent us a file. We put it in a printer, hit print, and then stuck it on the car. We didn't care what was on the car. They could have put a unicorn on the side of it. We didn't care. So now we care very much on what the car looks like, where logos are going to be placed, and everything else that falls underneath that. So it's going to take a lot of coordination. Sometimes it feels like we're trying to put our finger in the hole while we're sailing the ship, because we're having to complete a livery, but I'm also talking to potential new sponsors. So there's this constant timing battle of getting the livery locked down and then having to print it. We can absolutely print, as we go and add sponsors throughout the season. However, a lot of people really want to make sure that they're on the car for the Rolex race. So there's a lot of juggling that goes on. Sometimes I've heard it be referred to as juggling chainsaws, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, like you were saying earlier, the space on the Corvette is such a complex surface, making it look so awesome. But it's not like a giant billboard,
right?
Like a NASCAR where it's super easy to just, you got tons of surface area and you just plaster things everywhere. So yeah, very, very challenging for sure.
Yeah. And then, when we get to the point where we need to start creating liveries for IndyCar down the road, that's going to be the similar situation. Those cars are spec cars, more or less, from an aerodynamic standpoint. They don't offer the best surface area for logo coverage. So we need to be smart about where we place someone that may be giving us millions of dollars as opposed to maybe giving us a free machine. So that is a balance, and we have to identify it. So at least I look at a car like a side of beef. There are certain cuts that are worth more than others, and a car layout is the same as well. The bigger the spots, and in certain locations, it's going to pick up better on television.
So, Corvette had a question: are we going to be changing the livery? I think we're
Yeah.
going to have a pretty standard livery and with a few adjustments. Potentially.
Yeah, and we talked a couple days ago during a meeting. I fully believe that when people, if you are watching on television or you're in Daytona in January and you see the cars for the first time, you will say, "Oh, look, there are the yellow Corvettes." Now, when you stand close to them and look at sponsor logos where they're placed, maybe some accent colors here and there, black to make some logos pop a little bit better. Those will be different. But again, like we said earlier in the stream, I'm a big fan of tying in the past to a current livery. So if we can maybe take some design ideas from accent pieces, like maybe along the black or along the rocker panel being in a different color, that becomes a really good space for technical partnerships. So I really want people to stop and look and say, "Oh yeah, there's the yellow Corvettes." But then the longer they look at it, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's C6 influenced and that's C7 influenced." So that's kind of our, at least my goal, to get that done. Mr. Feehan, It's been an hour. If you want to hang out longer, you're totally fine. But we really appreciate your time and don't want to hold you up if you have another tea time.
I'm not playing till later this afternoon. So
Okay, perfect.
and I got to watch the end of the race anyway.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going back and forth to the British Open, and I'm in just catbird seat right here.
Yeah.
What's
If you're
happening?
tired of me, I'll just hang around.
All right.
Yeah, great, please.
Yep.
So what's happening in the British Open?
Brian Harmon was leading early. I haven't switched over for the last, probably now I look almost 45 minutes now. But they had a little weather early. John Rahm has made a little run, so we'll see what happens. Brian bogeyed at some point in time during the first 6 holes, so he had a 5-shot lead going in. We'll see. That was down to about 3. So I haven't been over there in a couple of minutes, but it's a great golf tournament.
Yeah, so it's Harmon's leading.
How many under?
12 under by 5.
Oh, so he's still playing. He picked up 3 shots since I last looked at him.
Yeah, since over Young. Yeah, Young's so Harmon's at -12, Young's at -7.
Amazing. Or Rahm in there?
Rahm is -6.
Okay.
So he's a shot off.
All right. He should be about done by now.
Do you play golf?
Rahm is finished. Yes.
Yeah.
And so is Young.
Yeah.
So it's Straka is at -6.
Yep.
He's the only one. Well, he's on the course still. Yeah. When does IndyCar start?
3:00.
3. Yeah.
And then who ended up on pole there? Let's check.
Yeah, Doug, did you see Hy-Vee, their activation, what they're doing for Iowa this weekend?
No, I did not.
So I guess Hy-Vee is based very close to the track or somewhere in Iowa, and that's their part of the world, and they have completely taken over the track visually. They built these semi-permanent hospitality structures in the center of the track that look like a small building. They have about 3 or 4 really big name acts that are playing throughout the weekend, but really happy to see that level of activation around IndyCar, because I think
Iowa is. I can remember when we raced in Iowa, the Rouen Grand Prix in Trans Am, right downtown on the streets.
Wow.
Yeah, and I can remember that when they introduced that race. First of all, it was a street race, which is at that point in time, none of them had been successful.
Yeah.
A giant pain in the neck logistically.
Right.
I had just anticipated the worst, and I had prepared our team for that. I couldn't have been more wrong. we got there, and the town in and of itself was just open arms. They could not have been happier having a street race in downtown Des Moines. We stayed in downtown, interesting town in that you can get to every place you need to go without ever walking on a sidewalk. Everything's connected with a skywalk there. And they do that obviously because of the really difficult winters.
Right.
This happened to be a difficult summer. I think at race time it was 115 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And it was, of course, the guys only had to be in the car for an hour, but man, oh man, it was brutal. They were up and down pit lanes with 55-gallon drums of ice water with rags and cloths in them to service the crew guys, because you weren't going to make it an hour in that heat in a fire suit. It was brutal, but the town in and of itself was so accepting. Did some research at that point in time. The highest per capita of millionaires was in Iowa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, farmers, and obviously a lot of commercial printing is done in Iowa. At that point in time, you still had magazines, so it was huge there. Obviously, Ruan Trucking was there; they were the sponsors of it. Iowa turned out to be one of the most fun places that we ended up going.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised at the love of activation. The people and the companies in Iowa get behind whatever it is they're doing, and it seems to be universal in their support for whatever they do.
Yeah, I would think like Ed Sheeran and some other people, I barely know, but I would say they're probably spending $2 million in just the musical acts, and before you get to anything else. Yep. So they're spending serious money there. But yeah, my Iowa weather story was an IndyCar race. It was maybe 88, 89 degrees. Humidity was 7,000%.
Yep.
And I remember walking from the track to the hotel, which was right on the highway there. And I never felt so much water roll down my back during that walk. Getting to the hotel room and wringing out my clothes was unbelievable.
It can be just brutal. And like I said, we were downtown, so it was the residual heat. All the solar gain in those buildings and the concrete holds that all day and all night long. I mean, it was relentless. We made it through, and we ended up winning, so it turned out pretty good for us. But
how many years did they do that street course there?
2, as I recall. 2 years, I think.
Was that a IndyCar IMSA deal, or was that?
No, that was just Trans Am.
Trans Am. Huh.
We were the sole show, as I recall. That was a long time ago, man.
I think with NASCAR proving out their theory with Chicago, I think you're going to see street races in the United States and in Europe for the next several years.
NASCAR has gotten to the point where I simply can't watch it. I mean, it just borders on the ridiculous. I watched that race, number one, because I wanted to see what was going to happen, because it was something they really hadn't done before.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be a pretty enjoyable race.
Yep.
Frankly, for me anyway.
Yep.
Just speaking on behalf of myself.
It was a good race. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that the rain played a role, they had enough safety built into the racetrack where you could run off and still not, Busch crashed in the first, 20 minutes, and he was there at the end.
Yep.
New guy coming from Australia, driving by everybody.
Yep.
It was entertaining. It was a good race.
Yeah,
I thought.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah. So things are getting interesting here, guys. All the top 4 cars are within a second and a half right now. Everyone's closed in on the Aston. Down to a second and a half. So everyone's kind of stacked up here. So I'm kind of hoping for someone to try and move and take someone out, and we can drive by.
So what does the tire situation look like for the people in front of us?
So everyone's pretty much on the exact same strategy.
Okay.
And same tires now. Yeah, within a couple laps. Yeah, so everyone's kind of on the same stuff. But yeah, everyone's kind of lined up. Looks like Antonio kind of dropped back a little bit there. Maybe just to
get some breathing.
Either cools tires or.
Yeah. So, I mean, granted, this place is really hard to pass, but the people that are going to try and make a pass are all in front of him. And I would think as soon as they start making a pass and racing each other, he's going to come up and pick up the scraps. and maybe not Mosport, but enough where the front will slow down because they're racing door to door, and he could be in a catbird seat and pick them off and just fly by.
Any passing that takes place is not going to be
Whoa.
without some side of contact. I can
Yeah.
guarantee you that.
Right.
Yeah, so that what is it? Turn 5 is pretty sketchy. That's the quick back and forth. That's a sketchy little section there. And the Porsche always looks, and the Lexus always look super on edge going through there with that quick right left.
I would think you would want to, maybe if you're going to use a chrome horn, put it right there because they're light, and as they're going back and forth, maybe, shush them out of the way.
Yeah.
It might be a little early too.
24 minutes left.
I would think at about 15 minutes, you might start thinking about whatever suicidal moves you're planning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Luke made the comment, I like the darker license plate and painted rear air outlets of the C8R. I'd consider those. Yeah. So a lot of, it's funny you start asking about that. So some of the dark features on the livery are not all about style. They're about convenience and keeping the car looking good. So like in areas where there's a lot of exhaust or you get a lot of dirt or whatever, it's a lot easier to keep the car looking nice if it's black, because you can literally rattle can some of those sections to keep the car looking beautiful. So some of those decisions are more around the maintainability of the car. And we talked about some of that stuff when we were talking about the livery earlier this week.
In C5 and C6, we always painted the tail panel black because we had terrible gearbox and rear end issues.
Yeah.
And to keep the officials from seeing that we were leaking, we painted the back of the car black so that when the cam effect sucked up all that oil we were spewing, you couldn't see it on the back of the car.
Yeah. What oil? What are you talking about? That's not us.
Yeah, it's and even the previous generation Cup cars, there was a lot of funny business with livery on purposely trying to cover stuff up, especially prior to the Hawkeye system. We used flat vinyl so it wouldn't reflect the light, so you couldn't see the body contours. And that was dictated by the crew chief, and he said, "This is the vinyl I want to use, and for these are the reasons." And then this would never happen in sports car racing, but when we would get a new sponsor, we would have a meeting with the crew chiefs, and they would look to see, like, it was going to go on the hood and it was going to go on the rear quarter panel, but they would see if they could move it a few degrees either way to cover up things that they were doing. So that was always fun. I always felt like we were a bunch of junior high kids trying to get away with cheating, which we were.
That's exactly what it was.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something you weren't like, you were.
Yeah. Yeah, that
the Porsche fender's getting ready to come off here.
Yeah, that could. Well, it's be good as long as it doesn't hit our car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really looks like it's coming off. So again, it's 20 points. Doug, we were talking about this earlier. The point scenario situation right now is we're 109 points behind the Lexus.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, every position is 20 points.
Yeah.
So if we really, the goal is to try to finish ahead of the Lexus in every race, and over 5 races we could make that up. But being 2 spots behind means we would lose 40 points.
Yeah.
The
math is not in our favor here.
No. So if just getting the Porsche out of the way helps by 20 points. So that would be nice.
Yeah.
and actually keeping the Lexus out of winning is 10 points because it's from first to second,
Yeah.
30 points.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, look at that. They're showing it on camera. I mean, we're all stacked up, running hard. Lap times are steady. And the gap is, everyone's we're at 1.8 now.
GTD's in the same position.
They're all stacked up.
Well, first three.
Yeah, all within 1.2. Yeah, so 18 minutes officially here, and 19 on TV. So yeah, basically a minute delay between the live time the scoring coming in and the TV broadcast.
Yeah, don't give it away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the tricky things about this is things are coming in at different rates, and then we have there's a delay to YouTube, of about 30 seconds, I think. So if you're watching TV and watching us on YouTube, we're actually more in sync if we call things earlier. If we call things based on TV,
well, you can appear real smart if you play it right.
Yeah, well, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
I predict a caution.
Mm-hmm. We're due for a caution here anytime now. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I bet you. So yeah, under 18 minutes. They're just kind of all running together. I can't tell if that bodywork's getting better or if it's kind of or getting worse or the same or what. Definitely not getting better. But does seem like the sketchiest part of this track is going through 5.
Yeah. I seem to remember in the past there's a lot of business being given in turn 5.
Yeah. And they showed it earlier. They showed like a overhead of the track. And with that, you can really get a feel of how small it really is.
Yeah.
I'm curious how many acres of land it's actually on.
I know that answer.
Oh, is that on your board?
It's the first one. 300.
300?
Yeah. 300 acres total is track property. It's halfway between Boston and New York. It's a grade B FIA licensed track, 1.5 miles. You can have a 7, 8, or 9 turn layout, open in 1957.
Good thing we have you.
Okay. Wikipedia.
That pavement sits on about 3 acres.
Well, that's what was going through my mind as you said 300. I was like, there's no way that.
I also think it's funny that when you drive to the track, the last 300 yards, there's houses there, and some of those houses basically put FU to all the racers signs in front of their house because they don't like the sound, even though the track was there years before their house was, which I always think is funny.
Yeah, so I noticed on the schedule there's quiet hours.
Yes.
So they can only run, I can tell you. So they have quiet hours.
That's why we're racing on Saturday, not Sunday.
Is it?
Yeah.
I was at a race there where it rained and a state trooper got in the middle of the racetrack to stop the race because it was safe.
Wow.
Yeah, so 10 a.m. is when you can start running. And you can
Engine start.
And then start of quiet hours is 6. So 10 to 6 is when you can run there. So quiet hours are 6 p.m. to 10 a.m.
For years, we'd have to stop at the lumber yard before we got there and buy a dozen sheets of plywood because there was no paved paddock.
Wow.
You're just on the grass, and it always rained. It's in a hole. There's no breeze.
Yeah.
Everything is hard there.
Yeah.
There's not a single easy thing about racing at Lime Rock. Not one.
So you literally lay down plywood in the pile in the on top of grass and work out of there.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
straightaway was so bumpy, Tommy Campbell fractured a couple vertebrae in the Intrepid.
Just from the straightaway.
Wow.
Mhm.
All right, we're inside your 15-minute number, Doug.
Yeah.
So let's see if things get kind of spicy here. Yeah, so Jordan's gap to the leader is 1.2. So you have 4 cars packed up in the span of just over a second. That's a lot.
Yeah, Joe, your comment is right on. There was a similar situation out here with a newer housing development by Concord Speedway, or Charlotte Motor Speedway, or whatever you want to call it now, Lowe's Motor Speedway for many years. And it's 2,500 acres, and it is zoned for motorsports. So there's the big track, there's a Legends track, there's a drag strip, there's all sorts of tracks there, and they built houses fairly close to the drag strip. And when the drag strip opened, all the residents were freaking out. And so Humpy Wheeler, being the eternal promoter, he put microphones in the bushes between the barrier between the racetrack and the houses, and he would record the sound from the drag cars. And then the microphones would pick up the crickets at night that were like basically right next to the microphone. And the crickets, because they were so close, were louder than the race cars. So he made a press release saying, these people are complaining, but the crickets and cicadas are louder than these race cars. It was awesome.
That is pretty funny. Yeah, so they're showing it on TV. Look, we're just all stacked up. It's incredible.
Like I said, we're in that 15-minute window.
Yeah.
This is where it's all going to happen.
And there's a car. I think is that a lap car that's right behind us? I think it is. That's a BMW there, right? That AM car
behind us, yeah. So that's what it looks like.
97. So that 97 car.
Yep.
Is. I think they're a lap down. They're just all stacked up there. Someone's got to do something here. So who's it gonna be?
Well, there's no. Yeah, I mean, about the only place there's anything to do anything would be in one. As equally as they are matched, somebody's just going to have to go bonsai into the corner.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the IMSA guys are patting themselves on the back with the BOP situation. They've got four cars within
second and a half.
Second and a half after a 60 lap. So they're 60 laps into this run. So radio is dead silent, by the way, and has been for a while.
Yeah, David, in-car cameras are really good.
Yeah, it's a really nice ad to have the in-car up.
Yeah, and Joe, we have the same thing. So we have Peacock on both screens, and then the in-car too, and the sound from the in-car is really good as well.
Just got to hit his marks. I mean, the racetrack had a little bit of marbling offline here.
Yeah, so one thing I'm surprised they don't do in IMSA is like on the in-cars, they don't share the audio. So like if you get an in-car in NASCAR or something like that, you'll get their in-car audio too. It'd be nice if they did that. Yeah, so they're calling 12 laps. They just called that to Jordan. There's 12 laps to go.
And
other than that, dead silent.
And we're the fastest car on track.
Oh, something's happening up there. Is that a lap car? Yes. Okay, that's a lap car moving over. What did you say?
We're the fastest car on track.
So much for that BOP argument.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're all stacked up. I don't think we're a standout on any BOP stuff.
No, they're not going to change anything.
All right, under 10 now.
So, Doug, do you think that if there is a bonsai pass, it's going to be last lap or second to last lap, or when would you go?
Well, I quite frankly, right now, if I could do it, I'd do it now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wait. Just because I don't want to give the guy a chance to get even.
Okay. Yep.
If I can get by him, and obviously you got to believe you can stretch it out. But I don't think we're going to see anything. I think we're going to finish just like this.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just too, guys. It's just too hard.
Yeah, they're calling 10 laps
Well,
now.
Lexus is happy with their points. Okay, so we're behind them.
Yeah, Lexus for sure. Yeah.
So
yeah. The Lexus is not going to push the Aston because there's too much risk.
No.
The hungriest one is either us or the Porsche in front of us.
Well, the Porsche generally operates on, insanity. They forget it all. They go totally brain dead in those cars.
Yeah.
But they don't. There's no intellectual strategy going on there. It's just whoever's in front of you, get past them. We're probably at this juncture, we're probably the most motivated to try and induce a position change.
So Todd's comment is, success on track is when you can pass. I agree, Todd. You definitely passing really makes racing exciting. I do think that the lack of passing at today is a lot down to the track, the track layout, the narrowness of it, things like that.
So official clock is 6:45 to go.
So, Jordan just radioed in talking about the Porsche cutting the chicane.
Oh, yeah, he did.
And that he's done it several times. So they're going to radio into race control and let them know. Oh, pushed wide there.
Let's see if he does it again. He was almost 4 full tires off.
Yeah,
that's right.
So hold on, we're getting pretty spicy here with the 9. I think Jordan's going to make a run at the 9 here. Come on, Jordan. So that's 1.5 separating them all. We're at about 5 minutes left now. Do you have
You're sliding high, and the line there is so thin. You're either on it where the grip is, or you're not, and it doesn't take much. Maybe just a few inches puts you out there on that part of the racetrack with less grip, and it's all you can do to just keep it on the tarmac. That's where that.
So the Aston's got a bit of a gap now. It looks like.
Yeah, he's
like that.
Whoa! Oh, the Lexus just had a big moment.
Yeah, that was.
He's got a love life right now. Watching that rear view.
Now they're really packed up. Look at that.
Aston, Lexus, Porsche, Corvette.
All right, now we really need the
Porsche, and BMW.
Porsche to make a move. Come on.
In the top 5 in GTD. Again, it's what makes the GTD categories.
Well, this is pretty darn exciting with these cars all stacked up like this.
Manufacturers that are involved, how they race, how they find their speed.
So we're like probably 6 laps, I would say.
Takes it in deep.
No, they just called 5 laps.
Right, good. I'm sure you got into the ABS, which takes away your braking force in the car, so you don't lock up one of those front tires.
They just called 5 laps.
Managed to can't go back up, keep the car off the island, so to speak. And now he's regrouped here. He's
I have to think any other track, people would just buy him with that big of a bobble.
Yeah. So the Aston's got a second now. So it's kind of safe. So the other thing you got to watch here for is someone pulling a flyer lap that blows away their BOP and really shows what they can do. They're replaying that. But I'm looking at lap times and no one's done anything too insane.
You saw on the 9 of Buckler. That looks more dramatic. Yes, the other 4 like it's actually
So 3 minutes.
become an issue here, sure. Like under breaking
Got 3 minutes here, inside of 3.
and get it to pitch forward. To certainly get his attention and distract him a little bit.
The math is definitely not in our favor right now with 2 cars in between us and the
Right, I mean, he's
Lexus.
not getting close enough to really throw it down the inside and send it at this point. Stars just managing that gas beautifully. I was going to say, as we see,
So they switched to the side view, Jordan.
when is it time? How close do
In
you
the car, which is not super interesting at the moment.
He needs to be at least a car length close. So you got to be at least within 2 car lengths. And he's just shy of that right now. What's the frustration level like behind the wheel right now? Oh, it's huge. Now you see that fender car.
Yeah, they just called 3 laps.
Sort of like
3 laps on this one.
talks and releases that fender a little bit, but so it's going to stay in place. Almost takes you back when you were a kid racing go-karts and you're kind of up on the wheel trying to get it to hop and put the power down going, come on, I got to close. And you're not closing. Yeah, but everyone's doing the same job. You're all just
I'd
trying to.
really like to see the Porsche make a move here.
Yeah. Soft hands on the wheel, just forcing
It's
those.
almost like that's what Jordan's waiting for with that
Critical area.
like gap here.
Hit your marks. You gain confidence as well. What could be kind of the curveball is if suddenly the tires hit a bit of a cliff and you don't have the
So
grip
race clock is saying 133,
the last 10 laps or so. Inside 2 minutes to go from
and
live
this is going to be two laps coming up here.
track on the calendar, and there's that fender for Andlauer. Very similar to what we saw in the 9. It's really interesting. I believe Live Rock Gallery will go to the longest track on the schedule at Road America in just a couple of weeks, but they've got to finish this.
Yeah, so they just called on the radio that they're gonna
Meeting out of their chances. They're watching
white flag
classes leading with
next time by.
down on 1 minute. Yeah, it should be white flag next time by for the overall leader here, Riveras. But you got to get it done.
Keep an eye on that Porsche. Come on.
Your tires could just fall off the cliff. Next time by,
Another Porsche body panel.
same corner that I went the last time through. I think his task has been helped by the fact that he's had clean air in front of him. He's just focused on his own game. He's not in panic in traffic or anything. And that is a huge differentiator in terms of bringing that home.
So this white flag is thrown.
Yeah, I do.
So yeah, 23 is the overall race leader.
Drama from this point forward. On the
They got 7/10.
1 bit laps to
So yep, no move into 1.
do the downhill.
Cut that one out. Yeah, they're all kind of got a bit of a gap now.
1.5 miles. But you got to finish it. We saw the problem for Windward Racing last year.
So
They did not at all
we'll
shoot
go through 5 here.
the final corner. It is not over, but it's got to feel good. Rivera's can breathe just a little bit. Maybe
Everyone's through 5.
holding his breath the entire lap, I'm sure. Watch Jordan Taylor. He's
pretty close there. But does he have an opportunity? I think he does.
I think this is how it's going to end, which was your prediction, right, Doug?
Yeah,
Championship, what can you do?
Yeah, there we
I didn't
go.
think it happened, but
Returning to their
I just know this place.
had previously only at this racetrack, but
So all within a second. So top four within a second at the end there. So fourth place. Yeah, going to lose some more points to the Porsche, which is not awesome.
What about GTD?
But yeah, that's a tough one. I think
There they are.
certainly that issue getting out of the pits potentially lost us the spot,
It's double
maybe
win
two.
for Racing. His squad
When I was watching our card getting released from the pits, you could see we were definitely released before the Lexus was, but they're further down the pits than us, so it's hard to tell if we would have been able to pass the Lexus in the pits or not.
23 didn't even have
But yeah, no, they may have been a spot, may have saved us 20 points.
amazing.
Race was
And they just take
for.
It was.
I mean, that was.
Yeah, two cautions today. So
They had the pole.
Which is a relatively low number,
Right.
yeah,
but it's a testament to the fact that we didn't have that many cars on the racetrack,
yeah.
and the speed differentials weren't there. So
Yeah.
that's very conducive to safer racing.
Yeah. Yeah. Morton saying, yeah, at least we didn't crash. Yeah. Thanks for joining, Morton. Yeah. And thanks for joining everyone.
Yeah.
And Doug, yeah, thanks.
Thank
for
you,
all
guys.
that.
I'm gonna check out. Enjoyed
All
it.
right. Yeah.
Fun way
Thanks
to watch a race,
Thanks
and
for,
look forward to seeing you all in Elkhart.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, Doug.
Oh,
yeah.
you're welcome, guys.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
See ya.
Yeah. So to wrap up, not amazing. Fourth.
Yeah.
We'll take it. We'll move on to next race. Next race is Road America.
Yeah.
Awesome track. Great race. We are actually going to be there.
Yeah.
So we're not sure what we're going to do about this, if we're going to be able to broadcast or not. So yeah, we may have a pause. We don't know. We'll keep you informed.
Yep.
Yeah, keep an eye on our social.
Yep.
So yeah, so we got this, then VIR, then there's one more, and then Road America. Which one am I
Indy.
forgetting? Indy. Yes.
Indy, Road America.
Yeah, Indy, and then Road America. Road Atlanta.
Road
was the
Atlanta.
last one.
Yep.
But yeah, so thanks everybody for calling in.
Yep. Thanks, Captain Richard.
Any final
Thanks for
thought-
joining us.
Any final thoughts, Brad?
No, I was kind of wishing for a little bit more WWE. But everyone's in one piece, and nobody got hurt, so that's fine.
Some more scrapping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Short track style.
Yeah.
Scrapping.
Yeah. Shipley, thanks for hanging out. Charlie, thank you for watching.
Oh,
Yeah.
Joseph will be at Indy. Cool.
Yeah. Todd, great to see your name as well. Yeah. A phone and a headset. We've talked about that.
Yeah. Well, we've thrown around a lot of even broadcasting from a track
Yeah.
at some point. We will do that.
Yeah.
I swear.
And Joe, we actually have talked briefly about having someone that follows the stream actually being a call-in guest like Doug. So as like a fan feature. So there's still a lot of things evolving with this broadcast and stream. But this type of feedback really helps us in the future, how we bend and tweak it going forward.
Yeah, it's definitely all about you guys, all about the community. So
Yep.
Always love your input. Love having your dialogue.
Yep.
In ideas and
Another
and
new
all
name,
of it.
Michael.
So, yeah, thanks
for
so much.
watching,
Yeah,
Michael.
thanks, Michael. Yeah. All
Cool.
right, guys.
All
We'll
right.
have a good one. We'll sign off here, and
We're gonna go get on a bike.
yeah. We'll talk
right.
to you later.
See you guys. Have a good weekend.
All right, thanks.